Hello and welcome, everyone. You're listening to our podcast about how to create the best daily routines for learning English. I'm Emma.
And I'm Max. We're really happy to have you with us today. If you're learning English at the intermediate or elementary level, this podcast is perfect for you. We're going to share some easy, practical routines you can use every day to improve your English.
Yeah, that's right. Today, we're going to talk about how you can make learning English part of your daily routine, starting from the moment you wake up in the morning. We're not talking about studying for hours. Instead, it's about small habits that can make a big difference.
Exactly. One of the best things you can do when you wake up is to start your day with English. This doesn't mean you have to jump into a textbook right away. You can do something simple, like listening to a short podcast in English while you're getting ready for the day. You can listen to music, too. Anything that gets your brain thinking in English.
Yes, and that's a great way to train your ears to get used to the sounds of English. If you like listening to the radio, try tuning into an English language station. Even if you don't understand every word, just hearing English in the background is helpful. It's like giving your brain a gentle warm-up.
That's true. You can also try repeating a few words or phrases you hear. For example, if you hear the word breakfast in the podcast, you can say it out loud. Breakfast, breakfast. Repeating helps you remember and improve your pronunciation.
Oh, that's a good tip, Max. Another thing you can do in the morning is to look at your phone. Many of us check our phones as soon as we wake up. Why not use this time to learn something in English? You could read a short article, or maybe follow a social media account in English. This way, you're already practicing without spending extra time.
And don't forget about vocabulary. You can learn 1 or 2 new words every morning. Just pick a word, write it down, and try to use it during the day. Maybe you can make a sentence with it or use it when you're thinking about something. For example, if your new word is coffee, you can say to yourself, I'm drinking coffee or I like coffee.
That's great advice. And remember, the key is to make learning English part of your daily life. It doesn't have to feel like hard work. Little by little, you'll notice improvement.
Exactly. So, mornings are a great time to fit in some quick and easy English practice, whether you're listening to something, reading, or learning a new word. You'll feel more confident as the day goes on. In the morning, we talked about how you can start your day with English by listening to podcasts, music, or learning new words. Now let's think about what you can do in the afternoon. By this time, you've probably started your day and maybe you're at school, at work, or doing things around the house. This is a perfect time to continue practicing, but in a more relaxed way.
Yes, the afternoon can be a busy time for many people. Maybe you don't have much free time, but you can still fit in some English practice without even thinking about it too much. For example, if you're eating lunch or having a break, you can use that time to do something in English. One of my favorite things to do is to watch a short video or a TV show in English. Even if it's just for 10 or 15 minutes, it can really help.
That's a great idea. Watching something in English is a fun way to practice because you're not just hearing the words, you're also seeing the actions and the context. It helps you understand the language better. You can choose something you like, maybe a short episode of a show or even YouTube videos. There are many videos made specifically for English learners, and you can even turn on subtitles if that helps.
Right, subtitles can be very helpful, especially if you're still getting used to hearing English. You can first watch the video with subtitles in your own language to understand the main idea. Then watch it again with English subtitles. This way, you're learning new vocabulary and improving your listening skills at the same time.
And don't be afraid to pause the video if there's a word or phrase you don't understand. You can write it down, look it up, and then try to use it later. For example, let's say you're watching a cooking show in English and the host says, "Chop the onions." If you don't know what chop means, you can stop the video, look it up, and maybe even practice using the word yourself. Like, "I'm going to chop the onions for dinner tonight."
Exactly. The more you try to use new words in real-life situations, the more you'll remember them. Speaking of real-life situations, another great way to practice English in the afternoon is while you're out and about, like when you're running errands or going for a walk. You can describe what you see or what you're doing in English. For example, if you're at the supermarket, you can say to yourself, "I'm buying apples," or "I need to find the bread." It's like practicing English with yourself.
That's such a great way to learn. It might feel a little funny at first, talking to yourself, but it really works. You don't have to speak loudly, of course. Just thinking in English is enough. If you make this a habit, it'll become easier and more natural over time.
Yes, and don't forget to keep learning new words in the afternoon, too. In the morning, we talked about learning 1 or 2 new words. Well, in the afternoon, you can review them. Repetition is key to remembering new vocabulary. You can write the words on sticky notes and place them somewhere you'll see them, like on your desk, on the fridge, or even in your bag.
That's a smart idea. You can also make little flashcards with the word on one side and the definition or an example sentence on the other. Whenever you have a free moment, maybe while you're waiting in line or sitting on the bus, you can pull out your flashcards and review them. It's a great way to keep the new words fresh in your mind.
And if you want to challenge yourself a bit more, try to make full sentences with the words. Let's say you learned the word delicious in the morning. In the afternoon, you can use it in a sentence like, "This lunch is delicious," or "The cake smells delicious." The more you use the word, the more natural it will feel.
Another cool idea is to keep a small notebook or use a note app on your phone where you can write down the new things you learn each day. At the end of the day, you can look back and see all the progress you've made. It's really motivating when you realize how much you've learned just by doing small things throughout the day.
That's a great tip. And while we're talking about motivation, it's important to reward yourself for your efforts. Learning a language can be challenging, but it's also exciting. Celebrate your small victories. Maybe after practicing English for 15 minutes, you can treat yourself to something nice, like a cup of coffee or a break with your favorite hobby. It's important to stay positive and have fun with the process.
Yes, learning should be enjoyable, not stressful. You don't have to be perfect, and it's okay to make mistakes. In fact, making mistakes is part of learning. The important thing is to keep going and not to give up, even when it feels hard. By adding English to your afternoon routine in small, easy ways, you'll see progress without feeling overwhelmed.
That's such good advice, Max. Remember, learning a language is like building a house. You do it brick by brick, little by little. Every word you learn, every sentence you practice, is like adding another brick. And before you know it, you've built something amazing.
Exactly. So, in the afternoon, you can practice by watching videos, thinking in English while you're doing your daily tasks, reviewing new words, and rewarding yourself for your efforts. It's all about making English a natural part of your day. Keep it simple, keep it fun, and you'll make great progress.
We've already talked about using your mornings and afternoons for learning English. So let's now look at the evening. The evening is often when people have more free time, so it can be a great opportunity to focus on your language learning in a more relaxed and focused way.
Yes, that's right. Evenings can be perfect for learning because your mind isn't as busy with work or other responsibilities. It's a time when you can slow down and really absorb what you've learned throughout the day. One of the best ways to use your evening for English practice is by reading.
Absolutely. Reading is such a great way to improve your vocabulary, grammar, and comprehension skills all at the same time. The good news is, you don't have to read difficult books to learn. You can start with something simple, like short stories or articles written for English learners. If you prefer, you could also read something you already know in your own language, but in English. That way, you'll understand the story better and still learn new words.
Exactly, and you can also try reading something related to your interests. If you love cooking, you can read recipes in English. If you're into sports, you can read articles about your favorite teams. The key is to find something that you enjoy so it doesn't feel like studying. You can even read for just 10 or 15 minutes before bed. It's a calm, focused way to practice.
Another great thing to do in the evening is to review what you learned during the day. It's important to look back at the new words, phrases, or grammar points you practiced so they stay fresh in your mind. One of my favorite ways to review is to write a short journal entry in English. It doesn't have to be long or complicated. You can write about what you did that day, or even just how you're feeling. The key is to practice putting your thoughts into English sentences.
That's such a good idea, Emma. Writing is really powerful for language learning because it forces you to think about how words work together. Even if you make mistakes, it helps you get better. For example, if you learned the word busy today, you can write something like, "Today, I was busy at work." The more you practice, the easier it becomes.
And don't worry about making your writing perfect. The goal is to express yourself in English, not to write like a native speaker. You can even try writing down a conversation you had in your own language, but in English. This will help you think about how to say things in English that you might normally say in your native language.
Yes, and if writing feels like too much, you can even practice speaking in the evening. Some people find it helpful to talk out loud to themselves in English before bed. You can talk about your day, what you plan to do tomorrow, or anything that's on your mind. It might feel strange at first, but it's a great way to practice forming sentences and getting comfortable speaking English.
That's true. Another excellent activity for the evening is watching movies or TV shows in English. This can be a little more challenging than watching short videos like we mentioned earlier, but it's really effective. Watching a full episode or movie helps you get used to how English is spoken in real conversations. You can even pause the movie and repeat lines that the characters say, trying to copy their pronunciation and intonation.
Yes, watching shows or movies is great because you also learn how people speak casually in a more natural way. It's different from the English you find in textbooks. You can hear different accents, slang, and expressions that are used in everyday life. If you don't understand everything, don't worry. You can turn on subtitles or just enjoy it as a fun way to immerse yourself in the language.
Another fun thing you can try in the evening is language exchange. There are many apps and websites where you can chat with native speakers or other learners. You can practice speaking or writing with someone who wants to learn your language, and in exchange, they help you with your English. It's a great way to practice real conversation and get feedback on your English.
Yes, language exchanges are awesome because they give you a chance to use what you've learned in real situations. You can practice asking questions, giving answers, and having natural conversations. And since you're helping each other, it's a very relaxed and friendly way to learn.
And don't forget about your goals. The evening is a great time to think about what you want to achieve in your English learning. Maybe you want to learn 10 new words this week or improve your listening skills. Take some time in the evening to reflect on what's working for you and what isn't. You can adjust your routine if you need to, or set new goals for the next day.
Yes, that's important. Setting small, achievable goals helps you stay motivated. You can also track your progress by keeping a learning journal or checklist. Each evening, you can write down what you learned or accomplished that day. It feels great to see how much progress you've made over time, even if it's just small steps each day.
One last tip for the evening is to relax and enjoy the process. Learning English doesn't have to be stressful. You can take time to do something that makes you feel good, like listening to your favorite English songs, reading a book, or even meditating in English. The idea is to make English part of your everyday life in a way that feels natural and enjoyable.
That's right, Emma. Learning a language is a journey, not a race. By creating daily routines that include listening, reading, speaking, and writing, you'll slowly but surely get better. The most important thing is to keep going and not be afraid of mistakes. Every day is an opportunity to learn something new.
Exactly. So, to sum up, your evening routine can include reading, writing a journal, watching a show, or even having a language exchange. You can review what you learned during the day and set goals for tomorrow. The key is to make English a part of your life in small, enjoyable ways.
And remember, learning English doesn't have to be hard. By following these daily routines, you can make progress without feeling overwhelmed. It's all about building good habits and staying consistent.
Thank you so much for listening to our podcast today. We hope these tips help you in your English learning journey. Remember, the more you practice, the better you'll get. So keep going and don't give up.
Yes, thanks for joining us. If you enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe to our channel and share it with your family and friends who are also learning English. It's always better to learn together.
We look forward to seeing you again in our next episode. Take care and happy learning.
Goodbye.